Women in Bitcoin is sponsored by BTCX, Sweden's first and most experienced Bitcoin exchange. Since 2011, we've helped Swedes buy and sell Bitcoin without the unnecessary hassle. We've stripped away all the noise. With us, you get a simple, safe and smooth way into the economy of the future, which, by the way, is already here. Head over to bt.cx and hop on the Bitcoin train today.
Hello and welcome, Hani, as always.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And our wonderful guest, Fati Hakim.
Thank you so much for inviting.
Welcome. So, Fati Hakim, you are CEO and co-founder of FirstBlock. And this has got a lot to do with blockchain. And you're also a co-founder of the Cora, a community initiative promoting feminine leadership in tech and Web3. And Fati, we met a few times at different mingles and events around blockchain and Web3. And both me and Hani, we love you, and we think you're the most, warm and kind and open person in this space. So we have felt for a long time that we really need to have you on this podcast. Welcome, Fati.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me, guys.
Fati, I have a question. I mean, for those who don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and in your own words? Who are you?
In my own words, okay. It's always a little bit difficult, isn't it, to introduce yourself in your own words. But as you said already, if we are taking it from the title, CEO and co-founder of FirstBlock. We are a Web3 and blockchain consultancy here in Sweden. But it's very hard to always detach yourself from your title, right? But let me try it. Let me give me a try here. I don't think a lot of people know this about me in my professional life, but I'm actually... I came to Austria when I was 11. I'm actually a refugee child from Afghanistan. My parents are from Afghanistan. I was born in Afghanistan. When I was 3, we moved to Pakistan, where I spent till I was 7. I did my nursery and primary school there. And then when I was 7, we started fleeing actually from Pakistan, and it took us till I was 11 that we arrived in Austria. So I was homeschooled between my 7th and 11th year. I have 3 siblings, 1 older brother, 2 younger sisters. And it was my parents that were with us also on the journey, I would say. I lived in 9 different countries before my 11th birthday. I did my high school and studies in Austria. I actually studied completely something else. My parents were both construction engineers, so somebody from the family had to do that. So it was the lucky me. So I studied architecture, my life journey took me in a different part, and here I am today. Moved to Sweden the first time 2017, realized that the blockchain side is not very developed, went back and came back 2021 in July, and since then here in Sweden and love it.
Wow. Thank you for that. I remember the first time we talked on phone, you shared your story, Fati, and I was really moved by it. And I remember us coming into this because I know you're a lot about blockchain and Web3, which are words that for me it's just Bitcoin, but I can see that it connects. And we were talking about your journey, and I was like, yeah, so this is a woman and Bitcoin pod, and not a woman and blockchain pod. And I remember you connected this to like the refugee background to money, like what would have happened if we actually, instead of money in our own currency in all these different countries, if we would have had a currency like Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I mentioned to you that why I got really or why even I got interested in Bitcoin when it was pitched to me the first time was because the person who pitched to me used a sentence or used the word borderless, which a lot of people probably can't at the beginning here in our Western world connect to it because, you know, we have banks, we have our financial institutions. There is no problem with transporting money or having it with you, and you always have access to that. But I think through my past, I remember when we moved countries or over borders, it was always a difficulty with money. So we were transported by smugglers, obviously, how it is when you are illegal in a country. And every time we crossed borders, it was always like, oh, you have your clothes in your bags and so on, and the money mostly you also always put there, right? So very often we had smugglers that were just telling us like, oh yeah, it's okay, you can give us your bags, you will get it when you are on the other side of the border. We will bring it back to you. So we did the mistake that we first time trusted. It was not just money. Also, in my culture, gold is very highly highly valued, and my mom had a lot of it, and that was also something that we had obviously with us. So I remember at the beginning of the journey, obviously, you know, we have huge bags, we have all our favorite clothes and so on and so on. And then slowly, every country and every border we passed, the clothes got less and less. And we learned from our mistake the first time that money was in the bags and then you never got that, right? So, and also remember very often, I mean, I was young, but just the feeling of coming into a new country, if the smugglers were on the other side of the border, they kind of got you, and you know you were protected, you got food, you got shelter. But if very often also happened that on the other side they just didn't pick us up because it was just like they just scammed us, and we just crossed the border and we were standing and had no idea where to go and what to do. And very often, if you didn't had money, you had to. I remember my dad. The first thing my dad did was searching for a Western Union so he can get money transferred. Or what we also did in certain at the beginning actually had the money on our bodies, which is very dangerous because very often, obviously, also that was something that the smugglers knew, and they could, you know, you never know in that situations what could have happened if they would have, yeah, if they would have knew how much money it was, and you know, there for them every cent is worth it. I mean, they are doing this work as well because they are probably in a situation in their lives that they don't know what to do. And yeah, sometimes you just don't know what people are capable of getting into, being in certain situations in their lives, right? So I think when I heard first time borderless, it made so much sense for me, and I connected it immediately with that. So okay, that currency is borderless, meaning everybody on this world can be united through that currency and can use it.
I have to say, Fatih, I didn't knew about this story. I mean, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's so amazing to hear the story. I think it's a relate a lot of people as well out there. And thank you really much taking the deep dive and sharing that story of your past. And of course, we have a successful woman now building her CEO FirstBlock. It's amazing. But I have a question. What does this whole world of Bitcoin or blockchain, even AI, mean to you now in a deeper level after having this journey that you've been through, and now you are CEO of FirstBlock?
I think when what Bitcoin means, or let me take it a little bit back. When I got introduced the first time to Bitcoin, obviously the borderless was a very was something that caught my eye immediately, right? I didn't act on that very quick. It took me another 6 7 months till I was like, okay, let me deep dive into that. And there I remember that it was funny because I connected seeing, okay, where Bitcoin was and how much value it gained with time and so on. And understanding the financial side of it was immediately something that came up to my mind was like, oh, freedom. Because, you know, like, okay, it is seeing like people who were in the community where I got introduced to it, like where they were, and then through the through the gains where they ended up and so on. I just saw freedom, like time freedom and place freedom that they got through that. And also like since then I see a lot of people who I know that that were engaged in Bitcoin, see them also having this freedom. Like they don't have to today sell their time for money to be able to pay bills. They are able to create stuff, right? They're able to, they have the financial freedom, obviously, to be wherever they are and to do whatever they want to do to make this world better. And this is what I saw, I think, in a very early stage. I was like, oh, okay, that could give one freedom in that sense. And I know that Rebecca told me to not talk about blockchain, but it's so inevitable to not talk about it. But where I see, because you asked what it means today for me, I think that on this world, there is no problems that we already have solutions for them already here. And I think that with AI coming in so quick and so massive, blockchain is an enabler for that technology, but in a fair way. And if we stop exploring what blockchain can do in that sector when it comes to, as Rebecca already mentioned before, the speech I had in Nordic Blockchain Conference about AI twins or deep fakes and identity on chain and so on. It is a big enabler in the security sense as well. So it means for me, from the currency perspective, freedom, but also from the technical perspective, freedom and fairness.
So what do you say to people that are afraid of, I think most people, when you talk about AI and especially AI and twins and identity, people become, without having, any background knowledge about it. So when people instantly, I assume that you are bumping into people that are like, yeah, but this does not feel safe to have an identity AI twin. So what do you tell them? Because I can see that you're glowing a little when you talk about the AI and blockchain, and that's it's enabling more freedom, more safety. So what have you seen here that most people have not?
Yeah, but funny enough, the AI twin idea came just because we wanted to test out something for ourselves. We never wanted to make anybody, because we saw how rapidly AI is evolving. And I mean, today also with so many different tools, with all the updates that it's happening in I don't know, like light speed, I would say. Every other day you hear, oh, we have an update for this, we have an update for that. It becomes more and more realistic. I think that people who are afraid should just be afraid of the speed and be afraid of that there is yet no tool that they have their identity secured on, right? So, for example, we know when very often people ask like, okay, what is Web3? Then I explain like, oh, Web 1 was just information on, online. Web 2 was when we started engaging on internet, and Web 3 is where we also have ownership. But if we go one step back in Web 2, when we had Instagram, for example, right? I remember when the blue checks came out. Why did these blue checks came out? Because people wanted to make sure that they are the ones who are having they have like big personalities or influencers, or them, they wanted to make sure that there is no other account out there that is profiting or that is stealing their identity and so on. And then the blue checks were invented, right? Later on we will have all these EIs being created, and we will need a solution for that, right? So people who are saying today they're afraid of the innovation, I mean, this curve was always there. Every innovation that came, there was always like the ones, the opportunist, and then the pessimist, and the people that were afraid. But I have never seen in my living life that an innovation was so quick. And I think we have to take measures already now, because if we wait for that and see where it's going, it will be probably too late, right? And maybe all these central organizations will one day come up with a solution, but is that a solution that is in my hand, basically? Is that will that be a solution that will profit me, or profit again somebody who is making $1 billion business out of it, right? With my identity, with my data, and so on. And I mean, these AIs are living out of my data and my identity and my creativity, right? If somebody would have told me, I don't know, 20 years ago, that there will be $1 billion business actually with my email, phone number, house address, and so on, I would have said, "Oh, you're crazy." And back in the days, when internet got evolved and a human itself became a product, then we put our emails everywhere. We were like, oh yeah, I get access to Facebook. Okay, I'm putting my email address here. I'm getting access to this, and I'm putting my email address here and there. I think we should learn from the past, and the future is coming quicker than we think, and we should take measures already today.
And what kind of measure you're thinking? Because as you said, the speed is the scary part, and how should we deal with it at the moment? Because we're already there, if not, because if we have people out there who are thinking, "Oh my God, AI, I don't like it," but how should we deal with it to like it? Convincing other people, the platform who is not against but uncomfortable.
I don't think we have to convince people when it comes to AI. That will happen anyways, because all these big companies will do that, right? They will create. I mean, we didn't have to convince anybody when Facebook came out, right?
No.
Like there was a problem, and then there was not a problem, but they created a problem and then a solution for it, right? So this is how they do that. I think that what we should focus more on is to create already solutions that empowers us today, what could come out later out of this innovation, right? So, for example, we know already by now through past that having a centralized place that has the power can manipulate us, can brainwash us, can decide basically what I see, what I buy, what I consume. And money is not anymore the only value that these big corporates are getting through us. It's, for example, our attention, it's our time, us being so connected to our screens is feeding them money every second that we do that, right? And we are not aware of that. And I think decentralized decentralized corporates can become also with time, yeah, very one-sided, right? Is that something is that something that they do to earn money? Then probably they will do, right? They will choose it. And I mean, everybody who has a business can rely to that. Okay, but I don't think that any of these Mark Zuckerbergs and Jeff or Facebooks and Amazons and all of them created the solutions to make people addicted to it or stuff like that in the first place. It changes with the path of the company and all of that. And I mean, some of this is even human, right? This is how we are, and this is how we are. Yeah, this is how we are as humans. So I think giving this power to certain individuals is the wrong way to go in our next paradigm shift. And I see Web3 as a huge paradigm shift because it goes from central places to a community-based structure, to a decentralized structure, where it's not just about, if we look at the philosophical side of it, it's not just about the money, it's not just about the value that is exchanged, it's also about the power that is decentralized. It's also yeah, power back to the people, basically. That's one of the biggest slogans in Bitcoin history, right? Power back to the
Yes.
people. Yeah. So yeah, I think that that is something that we have to focus on. We don't have to convince people about innovation because it's happening anyways. We have to just make sure to be on the right side and use it in the right way.
Cora's mission.
Yes.
I want to go deep dive on a little bit about that. What's inspired you to promote this female leadership in tech, especially? So
Of
my
course.
question to you: you talked about female energy, like institution and care, and how can those quality helps women to get involved in Bitcoin?
Yeah. So the Cora story is actually a very funny one. Okay. I want to just take that and then bring it back to where I see where it collidates with Bitcoin is when I started advising and be advising and being board member and different projects in crypto, as you can also probably relate, it was a very male-based business back in the days, right? I was one of the one of the very least women doing something in that area, and very often I had the problem that I came to a certain point where I was like, oh, can I morally really do that? And I didn't feel comfortable with it, and so on and so on. And then eventually, after a while, I said like, no, sorry, I can't, and then left. And it was in different. It could have taken different, different looks, right? There were projects that started very good, changed their mission and vision when investors came in, and so on and so on. And every time it happened, I thought I was too difficult. I was too difficult to work with, or this feeling was also given to me. I was too that it was on me, basically. Then 2021, when I came back to Sweden, I met literally women that went through the same thing, just different industry. And that is what brought us to do this initiative. So Cora is basically an initiative talking about that and trying to put it down what exactly. So we started this initiative 3 years ago on Women's Day, which was also very important for us to enable. And we were just wondering because we three start, Funny and Osa, we three start talking about what happened to them, what happened to me, what exactly was that we felt, and why couldn't we really continue working the same way. And we started seeing parallels in our story. And then we were wondering if there are more women out there that the same is happening to them, because very often it is as soon as you have to do something that you are not made for, then this uncomfortable situations starts, right? And I'm sure also that I have a lot of also very masculine colleagues and so on, that they also feel the same way, but it always starts with like something that I am fundamentally not aligned with, brings me to that situation of not feeling comfortable with something anymore, which brings us back to these all centralized corporates that do certain things that are making us making us addicted to tools or to innovations and so on and so on, which I don't think ever they had they wanted to do that, but it brought them somewhere there because money became more valuable than some of the morals and missions in that sense. So once we did that, we sat down and we were like, oh, how great would it be to write a color paper about it and try to understand how, because we defined the two energies. I mean, a lot of people talk about that topic, but they probably use different words. We define these two things with masculine and feminine energies. And I'm not saying men and women in particular, because very often you can also have very feminine energy in male structure and very masculine energy in female structure. It's more about the way of, I believe, the way of working. So our business world is very masculine based, obviously, right? We women were not able to bring in our femininity not long ago. I mean, I don't know how long is it that we are allowed to basically work and be in that sector, right? And And obviously, these structures and these systems are very masculine based, right? It's very much after their values and are very masculine values and masculine ways how it's built. So I found myself coming into that, have to fill let's say a very masculine shoe that I knew already from the beginning I'm not able to fill 100% because I don't have so much masculine energy in myself, like in me, and the values are different. And I have, as a woman, very strong intuition, which you guys probably also can align. And very often, the intuition was the first one that screamed, right? And intuition has no place in business world, not at all, right? So if you feel like, okay, something is weird and so on, and you want to describe it, very often we as women, or also I know some of my male colleagues, their intuition is also very strong. They can't put their finger on it, but they know something is wrong, right? But this system, our business system, is not created for that. So very often you have to then step away and you have to take it on yourself. Like, oh no, it's just me. It's me. I'm feeling like that, and so on and so on. So me coming in and have to fill the shoe of a very masculine based system. I know already from the beginning that it's not possible. What happens in us that we, you guys can also read the color paper. Very often our male colleagues, or the ones who have more masculine energy in them, they have their testosterone, right? We women don't have that, right? Like from physical appearance, like from physical side seen. What do? We fill the rest of the 20% with the stress that we can create, because that is something, right? The masculine is very execution based. We are very creative in that sense, or our feminine side is very creative in that sense. So the creative side is not rewarded very often in our business world. It's more about the execution side of it. So when we come and we want to be creative, we can be creative on a certain point, but after that we have to execute. And if that in that moment we are not in our execution energy, in our male energy, right? We have to bring stress in to be able to deliver the things that are needed from us. And one of us three, or actually two of no one of us, she even went through burnout because she worked in a very male dominated industry where she tried to bring in the feminine and the creative side of her, which was obviously stopped in a very early stage. She realized, okay, she can't continue that way anymore. So then she started doing exactly what was wanted from her or needed from her, and then realized after some years, okay, I can't anymore. And then that ended up being, yeah, in burnout in that sense. And that is something that I realized with myself as well in all these projects. I came in, I wanted to bring my creative and creative energy, which is very good at the beginning, right? It's when the project is being created. That is why we created the laying 8. You can also see that in the color paper. We said, okay, for project, how can you create a balance, a good balance between feminine and masculine energy in a project that can be balanced and work out very well. And then Funny did the most work here, where she describes very well, like, okay, the feminine creative comes at the beginning, where the projects gets the life out of it, right? And then you need the masculine execution on that. But something that very often these big corporates or businesses are missing is that you have to loop back after you execute it the first time, that you have to loop back and come back to the feminine to see, hey, are we still aligned on our values before we go out again and basically set our agendas in that sense. And if you imagine it visually, the laying 8 needs to be all the time, at any time, active. So this is how it can work in projects where we can create a balance between these two energies. And this is where I see, like, if you look at the most things that are making our systems work, it's based communities, right? The governments work because communities believe in them, right? Religions work because communities believe in them. So it's so community based. What if our world was always very community based and we just sorry my language, or sorry my French, fucked it up and went to the centralized, and Bitcoin is bringing us back to what it was meant to be in that sense, right?
Hallelujah.
I
You
knew
said
you would
it all,
like.
Fati. Rebecca is more happy to hear that.
Especially when you round it off with the Bitcoin community. Yeah, but I agree, 150% with everything you say, Fatih. I think this is so fresh, and I feel, reborn, like hearing this. And I think I honestly really think that the world uh, craves for this. So to be able to turn this crazy world around, this is decentralization and community, and this this paradigm shift that you're talking about is what we needed. So it feels like there's two really strong powers, like this centralized power. The EU wants to create a centralized currency, and so the fear of decentralization is creating an even more power struggle in the other way. And at the same time, we have this Web3 and blockchain and the new technology, which is based on other structures and aspects than what is driving this world so far. So it's so what I also hear in what you're saying is bringing intuition in. It's nothing really. To my ears, it's like, yeah, of course we need intuition into our businesses and into finances and into technology. This is a sixth sense that we've learned to press down because it's naive or whatever we fantasize it's being. And long-term thinking and taking care of each other, and in a happy society where people are happy, is also a healthy society. And we can, and if we're healthy and happy, we can also achieve and perform more, which is like basically what the masculine energy is striving for, right? So it's not just, we need more women into the space. No, everyone is benefiting from this. The male or the masculine energy also needs, rest and to back down and be still, because that is when we can also receive creativity and input and all these ideas that we want to execute.
We
Yes.
need a balance for sure. That's what we talked about in Nordic blockchain when we talk about why Bitcoin needs women and woman needs Bitcoin. So we need all aspect of it. But beside that, we will talk about a little bit of your future dreams per se. Or I'm going to change it. Not future. Let me start. What is in the pipe right now for you? Is it beach, or is it a new project, or what's going on in the world in Sweden? What gives you hope right now in the blockchain Sweden, if there is any time?
I would love to answer that very optimistic, right? But I had some conversations last week that made me a little bit thinking. So the reason for me why I moved to Sweden 2021 again was because Sweden is known for its innovation worldwide and Europe-wide, right? Everything innovative, everything cool. Like Sweden basically is the Silicon Valley of Europe, right? So when I 2017 came first time to Sweden for other reasons, I started looking into the Swedish community and figure out, oh, okay, there are not so many. 2021 coming back, looking again, I was like, okay, there is more community here. Looks like it will happen. And having my knowledge from the German community, because there's where I started, Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, knowing like, okay, it's always like building, 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 but then it breaks down, and all of a sudden you have all these pretty innovations. I was like, okay, 2021, I felt it like, okay, this is happening in Sweden as well.
Mm.
Unfortunately, Sweden taught me different. I have to say there are projects happening in the past and also right now that I'm aware of, and I have really big, big, big hopes. But the way how I was hoping um, didn't unfortunately happen yet, I would say. I see with all these initiatives with Blockchain Sweden and Nordic Blockchain Association doing also a lot in that sector. But something that I also again got reminded of is that now talking about blockchain, I'm not sure if Rebecca is happy about it or
Oh,
not.
you go.
But
You proved yourself
yes.
already, so relax.
But I think that we are very much stuck in Sweden in regulations, or maybe in Europe even, very much in regulations, and we are letting that stopping us from becoming creative. Like as I said before, I don't think we have any problems on this world that the solution doesn't already exist on this earth, right? The only thing is we have to become creative. And I think we are getting distracted through a lot more right now when it comes to blockchain. And also, there are use cases happening. People are talking. I know Swedish companies that are building stuff for, yeah, I can for Brazil, Argentina, for US, for Asia. But we are not in Sweden, at least. I had this conversation last week with somebody that we spoke about the communication that is happening on mainstream level, that we always talk about crypto and we always talk about negative about crypto, and we don't educate yet, at least on that level, that it's not just the crypto aspect of it. It's so much more that can be built on blockchain and can be done, but we are not yet there, and Sweden seems to be very slow on that side. When it
Yeah.
comes to the governmental level, I'm very happy that Blockchain Sweden obviously exists because some of the conversations are happening there. I'm just not sure if Sweden is also going the same pace that Europe is going. We might need some more years to get to see what I actually saw in the German-speaking countries when it comes to innovation. Some of these projects, I mean, you can look at it positive or negative. For the creativity, definitely positive. For the financial side, definitely some of the projects or most of the projects that were created back in the days didn't exist, but at least that was what drove the community, right? The community came always with new ideas and tried to do new stuff. And this is something that I am missing a little bit here in Sweden. I have a lot of good conversations with just certain people, but it feels very siloed. Like people do their own thing behind their own curtains and nobody's really cross. And I think the understanding of that, hey, we are all together and we have to drive this community further. And it's not just us working for us and nothing else. That is something that we have to understand. That was a difference between, or that is the difference also I see between German-speaking countries and here.
So what do you think is the biggest block in Sweden?
Trusting the government a lot and want to be very regulated.
So we're trusting the government too much.
I believe so.
Yes, and we're
Yeah,
obsessed
we are
with
kind of like, oh, let's
regulation.
wait for the regulations. Yeah. Oh, let's see what the regulations say. Yeah,
Nobody wants to do anything wrong, right?
exactly. Which is,
Yeah.
of course, again, good, right? But it takes away the creativity somewhere.
Yeah,
Some
but it's mostly fear-based, not, not from love, like, oh, I want to do everything right. It's like, I don't
exactly,
want to be in trouble.
exactly.
In my perspective, I feel like it's both fear, but also culture. I think the culture aspect is involved in here because we always, I mean, the mentality in Sweden is we always believe the bank system, the politician, and so on. So it's very difficult to change the mindset of the culture. But also, as you said, it is fear. So it's a combination. But if they see beyond that, that there is a bigger picture at the we can build a community in a safer environment. But as you say, it takes time.
So I think what's going to solve this is feminine, the feminine way of doing it, because I think everyone, if we get in touch with our intuition, we will feel like there's something wrong, and we will open up this society to more innovation.
100%. I believe so. I think if we get to do that more, we definitely have a compass that we can rely on, right? And also, like Web3 is so community-based that you need feminine leadership and feminine energy in that sector, because yeah, you can create a community, you can execute on creating a community, but holding a community is very feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is something that yeah, connects again the Quora with Bitcoin itself.
So
Thank you, Fati,
yeah,
so much.
so much, Fati. And talking about connecting, how if our listeners want to connect with you and know more about what you're doing and FirstBlock and the Quora, where do they start?
On LinkedIn, where
On
everybody
LinkedIn.
starts. Yes,
That's easy
just
enough.
connect me, Fati Hakim, on LinkedIn, or over our company page, FirstBlock. Reach out to us. Yeah, always happy to, yeah, to have a fika or a lunch and talk about future. And I think these conversations are important. People with ideas are important, and we would love to enable that with FirstBlock and FirstBlock Labs and everything else we are creating.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you so
Thank
much for having
you.
me, guys. Yeah.
have a great summer.